And welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to take a look at another powered screwdriver. This time it is going to be what many believe to be the best powered screwdriver on the market, the Denali. This is available in multiple online sources, and it's supposed to be made by SKIL, and we have another SKIL one here that we'll probably compare it to. But let's get this thing open. Pretty simple to open up. It has a decent carrying case. It has a hoop in it here that, if you saw, I was picking up on it, and it keeps it captured in the case. I guess that helps from sliding around, banging around because of the shape of the tool. It has a decent feel to it. It's got a decent weight. Battery says it's full, but we'll throw it on the charger just to be sure. It's got two LEDs in the tip. It comes with a bunch of different various tips. The quality of them doesn't look like it's awful. But if you have experience using this and you easily break the tips, a lot of times the flathead tips are the ones that are easiest to break. If you get partial engagement on a screw, you can point load it and they break easier. Or the Phillips strip out, something like that. So if you have experience with this and you have issues with the tips, or you don't have issues with the tips, let me know down below in the comments. It comes with the standard, everybody has them, magnetized extension. I don't particularly care for them all that much. One thing that I notice with this tool is that it does not have a chuck. So this is magnetic only engagement. There's nothing to keep the bits from coming out other than the magnet, which I think is a shame because this thing is supposed to be a really good tool. It's a shame that it doesn't hold the bits in it. I think it'd probably be just about perfect if it did. But let's take a look at some other things here. We have a little USB door here, and that is a USB-C. Let me get that open. That is indeed USB-C, which I know a lot of people like, including myself. It comes with a USB-C cable. So before we get too far into this thing, I would like to see if we can get it charged so we have a good fair check on it. Let's just see here. Okay, so it's not fully charged. This is a torque setting, I guess. It has an electronic torque meter, or I should say an electronic clutch in it. And that's probably what we're seeing here. So we'll get into that more later. First we'll see how this thing does charging and how much current it draws. And to do that, we have our USB meter that we've been using for a bunch of these tools. USB-C just goes right in. It's like that. Now they do have, it appears as though these lights will go up and down, and we'll see what it looks like once it's fully charged. But there's good signs of life whenever you plug it in. There's an affirmative telling you, hey, yes, you got this charging. And we're seeing what we see normally on the USB-C tools, about 1.13 to 1.1 to 1.2 amps for charging. USB-C is a faster charging, so that's not particularly a surprise. After we get this thing charged up, we're going to check the RPMs of it with our Veeder Root tachometer. We're going to check the torque output of it with our torque rig here that we've been using. And we are going to check how much it weighs with our Harbor Freight scale. Okay, and we're back. So, looking here at the Denali, we are fully charged. You can see there's no more current going into the tool from the charger, and the tool is completely no signs of life. While it was charging, these LEDs were going up and down to indicate that it was charging. When the tool is charging, there's no operation. You can see there, pushing the button, nothing's happening. As soon as we take that off, tool's working. So now that we have a working tool, let's get our charger out of the picture here. Alright, so we'll get our bits here off to the side, and to start with, we'll take a look at how this is made. We have a little bit of rubber here, but mostly everything's plastic. It doesn't feel bad. The rubber extends up to here. The outside diameter of this is less than other tools, and we'll measure that in a bit. But to start off here, what I like to do is let's take a measurement of how fast this thing turns with our Veeder-Root tachometer. So we'll put our socket adapter in here, and we'll put our socket on. And what this will do, I like using this 7/8 socket on everything because it's a pretty even. We're able to get a consistent reading if we run the same size socket on every tool. So let's see what the Denali does here for RPM. So we're right around 300 forward. Let's go backwards. And we're right around 300 again. Now the part that everybody's probably interested to see, let's see how much torque the Denali has. This thing is a torque monster from everybody's accounts. And to measure that, we're going to use this torque meter that measures inch-pounds. And all I'm going to do is grab the socket and create a load, and we'll read how much torque this thing puts out till it stalls. So here we go. So this is much higher than most things we've seen. First test is 17. We're being consistent at 17. 15 on that run. Now, after we do forward and reverse, I'm going to change the settings and we'll see if we can get less out of this if it has its own internal clutch. So 15 in reverse. $13. So we're about 15 in high on this. Now let's knock it down to low and see what we get. 8. So on low setting, this thing's torque appears to be what most of the other tools have been, like the Cobalt and even the Tone. They were all right around 8. The Craftsman, the SKIL, they were all right around 8. And interesting thing is, this is made by SKIL. So let's bump it to torque level 2 and see what we get. We get 12. The tool kind of shuts down when you over torque it. 10. 10. We're pretty consistently 10 there. 12 might have been an outlier. Let's go reverse. 11. And I'm gotta wait for the tool. 11. So around 10 in low speed, and high speed is right around that 17, 18 inch-pounds. 15. So I think we're right around 8 for low, 10 for medium and 15 inch-pounds for high. That's not bad. Just playing around with testing there. This is a pretty nice tool. I don't think torque is everything, but it is important to realize that sometimes it's handier to have a little bit more power. Now we're going to do some testing with a bunch of these tools and see some practical tests if they can do it. One thing I do not like about this tool that SKIL has down on their other model is they have a really bad hex attachment on the Denali. This is just a magnetic. Shove it in and hold it. It's really easy to lose your tips when you're using something like this. I wish they would have put something a little bit nicer like they have on their SKIL tool itself. If this had this chuck, this would probably be one of the better versions out on the market. It's still a good version, but for me, I would be reluctant to use it too much in a professional setting just because of how much the tips are going to be falling out of it. Around the home shop, I could get away with it, or if you're building panels or something like that, that it's not as critical that you have tips falling out. But even with panels, you go ahead and drop a tip in a VFD sometime and say that this tool's worth the hassle. So that gets a big mark against it in my mind. Overall size and weight, let's get out the weight here. For the Denali, it is going to weigh in at 286.3 grams. It's not too bad. I think the SKIL was around... Actually, I think the Denali is one of the heavier ones that we've had. Here's the Cobalt. Yeah, the Denali's got some weight to it. And you can feel it when you hold it. It's got some decent... It doesn't feel flimsy. Let's put it that way. So, overall length of the Denali, we're right around that 6-inch length. This is pretty much the same dimensions all the way straight through. So you are near 1 3/8, and we'll see something very similar back here. We're very near 1 3/8. So this is consistent in its size all the way through, which is nice to see. That's something that it'll fit in a tool pocket nicely because it's not so big. It is not anywhere near as slim as something like this Tone. But when you compare to the Cobalt, I would say that, you know, the Denali isn't all that bad. So, there we go. Quick look at the Denali. I think this is a good tool. I think if they upgraded the chuck attachment that's on it, this thing would be a much better contender for somebody in the professional market. I don't like this sort of tip just because things can fall out. If you disagree, let me know in the comments below. Do you use this thing for critical parts? Have you had issues with your tips falling out? Or is your usage of this thing more where if the tip gets left in the workpiece, you can grab it and it's not a big deal that if it falls out, there's an issue? If you're in things where tips and stuff falling into what you're working on is a big deal, do you use this or have you opted not to? Me personally, I think I would opt not to, but that is me. Let me know in the comments below. This thing is definitely by far the highest torque model we've seen so far. We do have some other stuff to test, so we'll see if it can hold its crown. As always, thanks for watching, and have a great day.